let's talk about book settings. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to talk about destinations, settings of books that I want to travel to, or I have traveled to and want to revisit. So for my Christian fiction reading challenge that I've created for the year, I will link the announcement video with the printable below. So for March, the prompt is set in a place you want to visit. So I have pulled a bunch of books for possibilities or recommendations of settings if you're looking for a certain state or a certain setting. And then some possibilities for me of places that I would like to visit or would like to revisit. I have organized my piles from within Canada, the States, and then international. So I'm going to start with in Canada, or the first province I have is Alberta. Because my best friend lives in Alberta, I want to come visit her. So I would like to go to Alberta. And that book that is set in the Rocky Mountains of Alberta is Mountain Abduction Rescue by Darlene L. Turner. This is a book that I have read and I really enjoyed it. When I go to Alberta, I do not want to experience the events of this book, but I can deal with the setting. I would like to see the mountains again. So this is the one book that I have that is set in Alberta. I do not have any possibilities for books for me to read because I don't have any others set in Alberta. I just lucked out with that one. Okay, so another Canadian province set book, or quite a few set books, is Liz Johnson. She has the PEI Dream series. She has the Prince Edward Island Shores series, I think that's the name of it. She has at least 2, maybe 3 series set in PEI, on the island of PEI. And we were lucky enough to go spend a vacation there back in 10 years ago, and absolutely loved it, other than it was a little bit colder than I was expecting for June weather, but that's okay. But the sights, the red sand, the kind of water, the windmills, I just loved it. And I would love to go back someday. So I really enjoyed the setting of these books, and I would recommend picking up any of them. So those are my Canadian ones. Now let's travel to the States. Because I am Canadian, a lot of our vacations consist of going to the States. So the first one I have to mention is a place that we visited just this past September on our road trip. Actually, I was thinking there's 2, but it's another pile. Authentically Izzy by Pepper Basham. Izzy lives in Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is one of the places we visited and spent a day there. And so it was nice. Some of the stuff she was describing, I could easily picture. This is a contemporary romance picture. It is a contemporary romance book and told mainly in emails and text messages for the first half, well, completely in email and text messages for the first half of the book. And then the second half, there is a mix of in-person interaction and emails and text messages. And it does not all take place in the States. You travel overseas to another place. And so I really enjoyed that. My favorite part of this book was the in-person interaction. This is a book that I just finished reading earlier this month. Okay, now sticking with North Carolina, a book that I really want to read this year, hopefully soon, is Unknown Threat by Lynn H. Blackburn. This is book number 1 of her Defend and Protect series, and it is set in Raleigh, North Carolina. We did not visit Raleigh when we were in North Carolina, but there is a lot of North Carolina that we didn't see, so I'd love to go back and visit it. Again, I probably don't want the events of this book happening when we go visit it in person, but I want to visit the location. Okay, now another state that I would love to visit at some point, and a lot of her books take place in this state. This is a book, again, that I read this month and absolutely loved, but I have also read a lot of her books and loved a lot of them. So that is Fairest of Heart by Karen Witemeyer. Majority of her books are set in Texas. I want to say maybe all of them are set in Texas, actually. But yes, Texas is a state that I would love to visit. Love to visit someday. And so this one is a historical romance, and it is a fairy tale retelling of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I didn't expect to love it as much as I loved it, but I loved it. Again, this is another book that I just read this month, so I talked about it in my February mid-month wrap-up. And the only book that is a possibility for Texas that is on my possibility list is If the Boot Fits by Karen Witemeyer, which is book number 2 of that series and is coming out at the beginning of March. Okay, now another state that I've never been to and would love to visit is Oregon. Hope Harbor is a fictional town that Irene Hannon has created in Oregon, but the descriptions of the coast and just, I would love to visit. Now, Irene Hannon is not the only author that I have read books set in Oregon, but it is the one that I automatically think of right away. So I have read Hope Harbor. This is book 1 of the series. And the one that I would like to read soon is Sea Glass Cottage, which is book number 8. Yes, it's book number 8 of the series. So this is, I've just finished 7, so this is the next one for me to read. This is a contemporary romance series, and each book does feature a different main couple than other books, but a lot of the characters carry over that you've met from previous, or you catch up with characters from the previous books. And I really enjoy that. I love following like the same community members. And there is one character in particular that really is active in all the books so far. So yes, Oregon coast. Okay, another state that I have never been to. Is it considered a state? Yes. Now I'm wondering. The capital of the states, Washington, D.C. So the one I think of is A Gilded Lady by Elizabeth Camden. This is book 2 of her Hope and Glory series, and this was my favorite of the series. I just loved following the storyline of this one. And Caroline is working in the White House, is lady's aide to, or personal secretary to the First Lady. And I just absolutely loved following this story and learning about it. It is a historical fiction. And the one that is set in Washington that I would love to read and start this series is Rachel Dillon's Endgame. It is a romantic suspense. And so again, I don't want the events happening to me, but I would love to see the capital and kind of, I always think like, I'm going to get the name wrong. Memorial Mall. So it's got like the Capitol, the Washington Monument, the Abraham Lincoln statue, right? I can't think of what it's called now. But anyways, yes, Washington, D.C. Okay, so a state that I have been to, and again, I would love to go back at some point, is Maine. So we've got the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. This is another historical fiction. Wow, I didn't realize how many historical fictions I had. This one is set in a fictional town in Maine, but it just describes the setting so well. And they do go up to, what's it called now? I just lost the name of it. The National Park, Acadia National Park in Maine, and be able to watch the sunset. And we didn't watch the sunset when we were there, but we did go to that mountain and stuff, and that was really cool. Yeah. And again, I just loved the way this was told. It is 4 points of view, and you're following the different characters throughout that you wonder, are they really connected? And then they do connect, and the way that they connect, and then the journal entries from that, I really enjoyed this book. This is the book that introduced me to Amy Lynn Green, and then I've read her other 2 books since then. And I do not have a Maine book on my to-read list. Okay, but another setting that I love is Georgia. So I have been to Atlanta, Georgia, but I have not been to like the coast, or like I always think of Savannah and stuff. And so the one is Liz Johnson. It's called A Sparkle of Silver, and it's called The Georgia Coast Romance. So this is book 1 of the series. I do not remember exactly where in Georgia it takes place, other than it is along the coast. Georgia coast. So it is a contemporary romance with a little bit of a mystery in it. Our main character, oh right, I don't have a description on the back. Our main character, Millie, goes and works in a museum type place and discovers a journal. And then she's reading through the journal entries. So it's a mix of the story being told through like in-person interaction and reading journal entries, which I just absolutely loved. So, and this is a series that I really hope to reread. Hopefully this year. I don't know, but I really hope to reread it soon. Okay, and another setting, Missouri. In particular, St. Louis, Missouri. Again, is another place that we have had the opportunity to visit. The Arch of St. Louis is like iconic, right? When you see it, you know St. Louis, I think. I think most people do. And so the book that is set in St. Louis is Point of Danger by Irene Hannon. Do I need to say it again? I don't want the events happening while I visit there. But it is a romantic suspense again. It is book 1 of a series, and we meet, I want to say Eve. Yes. We meet Eve, who is a radio show host and who has a bomb has been left on her doorstep. And they are trying to figure out where this bomb came from and stop. They, deactivate that, but other events start happening, right? And I enjoyed it. I love Irene Hannon's suspense books. I really love them. So yeah, and a lot, not all, but a lot of her books are set in Missouri. The last destination, a place that I would love to visit at some point, is Cape Cod. So we've got The Sweet Life by Suzanne Woods Fisher. This is a possibility for me because I have not read it. It is book 1 of her Cape Cod Creamery series. So Cape Cod is in Massachusetts? Is it? I think so. I don't know my states as well as maybe I should, right? Oh, I love it when they do this. They have a list of characters in the front, and we know their age and a little bit, I love that. Oh, and then there's a glossary of ice cream making. Okay, that's cool. Yes, Massachusetts. Okay, that is a state I've never visited, and I would love to visit. And I love this cover. It's so happy and summer, right? I'm not a huge ice cream fan. I will eat it, but this just makes me think summer. And so this is a possibility for me to read. Okay, well, let's say goodbye to the States and let's travel overseas. First destination I think of that I would love to revisit, I have been numerous times, but it just holds a special place in my heart, is England. And I don't think I've ever been to this place, not that I remember, but Cornwall, England. This is The Secrets of Paper and Ink by Lindsay Harrel. We are following Sophia, who travels from the States to England after something has happened and she kind of needs a break, needs a rest, goes overseas. She ends up renting a place at a bookstore, above a bookstore, and starts volunteering in the store. She, along with one of the store workers, or the owner maybe, discovers a journal. And then they're reading the journal and trying to figure out the writer's life, understand what happened. It's a mix, again, of in-person interactions and the journal entries. I just love that. This is a book I have read that I would love to reread, and it is on my list to reread this year because I remember absolutely enjoying it so much. It is considered, I don't know, I think you would consider it a dual timeline because you're reading the journal entries from the past. I don't remember how many years ago. I think it's almost 100 years, but I could be wrong. And then you've got contemporary, but it is definitely has a romance element to it, but I really enjoyed it. And again, I love pink. I love this cover. Okay, and then a book that I just recently read that I really enjoyed is Embers in London Sky by Sarah Sundin. This one just came out at the beginning of February. Need I say it? I don't want the events to happen while I'm there. So this is at the beginning of World War II, and we are following, I'm not good with her name, Alida, and she is trying to find her son. She's been separated from him and is searching for it. And London holds such a special place in my heart. I've only ever been to London once, but I absolutely loved it and would love to go back. So this is the one that kind of, as soon as I think of London, I thought of this book. And because I want to go visit England, of course I have a possibility, because I see kind of England settings and that's like, okay, I want to read that. And the possibility is The Governess of Highland Hall by Carrie Turansky. Turansky? Did I say her name right on the first time? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I shouldn't be proud of myself. So it says, missionary Julia Foster loves working alongside her parents, administering and caring for young girls in India. But when the family must return to England due to illness, she readily accepts the burden of her parents' financial support and takes a job at Highland Hall as governess. So she is returning from India to England. I don't know exactly where in England, but that's okay with me. Anywhere in England is good for me. And then I have another possibility, which is close to England, and it is As Dawn Breaks by Kate Breslin. So this one says it's amid the Great War in 1918 England, and so Rosalind is desperate to escape an arranged marriage being forced on her. Then there is Captain Alex, who is returning home to Gretna on a secret mission. So Gretna is in Scotland, and we did have the opportunity to visit Gretna when we did our London tour for our anniversary, or our London tour, our England tour, which is when we went to London as well. But yeah, so this is another one that I feel is going to take me kind of somewhere in England or Scotland. I would love to read this one. It is a historical fiction, and yeah, I just want to like immerse myself in history in that country. Okay, and the last destination I have is also in Europe, and it has a very iconic monument that I'm sure when you see it, you know, oh, that's set in, or that photo is from. Yeah, that monument is the Eiffel Tower. And both these books have, I don't know if you can see that one as well, but both of them have the Eiffel Tower. So this one I have read, so that obviously is Paris. This one is Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sundin. This is the, no, I was going to say this is the first Sarah Sundin book I read, but no, it was not. It's the first standalone I've read by her, but I'd read a series prior to. It is historical fiction, again, set in World War II, and we are following Lucy, who is an American in Paris and ends up running a bookstore. And then she meets another American, and they appear to be on opposite sides of opinions about the war. And they start working together through the course of the events, and I loved it. Loved it. I highly recommend this book. Okay, and the last book that is a possibility for me is Children of the Stars by Mario Escobar. Maybe? I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right. And this one is set in, again, World War II, Paris. We're following Jacob and Moses, who are two young Jewish brothers living with their aunt in Paris amid the Nazi occupation. So from what I understand, this is being translated to English, and I'm really hoping to read this year. I've had this on my shelf since 2022, and I love the cover of it, and it just sounded really interesting to me. Okay, now, I need to look at my notes and see, have I missed anything? Oh, how could I forget that one? It's because it's on my Kindle. Okay, the one other state, we're traveling back to the States now, is Colorado. I would love to see Colorado at some point. We had a trip planned to go to Colorado, and then, that thing that nobody talks about happened. So we did not. Thankfully, we didn't have anything actually booked. We just had kind of stuff picked out. And so we would love to try to go there, but we're a little nervous about kind of planning for that because, what's going to happen. But yes, so the book that is set in Colorado is Providence by Carla Lorando. I read this one, I think in 2022. It starts out in LA, and the main character, who I can't think of her name now, inherits a house in Colorado, or a few houses in Colorado. And she goes there trying to figure out, how does she inherit this? Like, what's happened? Like, because as far as she knew, she had no family and stuff. And I really enjoyed the setting of that book and the way that things progress, and there is a romance in it. I loved it. So that is the last state I'm going to mention. And I do not have a possibility for that state either. Those are travel destinations within books. Now, as I have said numerous times, I do not want the events of the books happening, but I would love to visit where the books are set. I'm sure a lot of people probably agree with me about that, especially because a lot of them are World War II set. Didn't realize how many I had of that, but yes, I enjoy historical fiction, and apparently set around the wars. When I asked my husband of what destinations are kind of his top destinations that he really would like to go to, he said Hawaii, California, Newfoundland. And I do not have any books, or cannot think of any books that I've read set in one of those three places. Now, I'm positive I've read something probably set in Hawaii or set in California before. I can't think of anything that's set in Newfoundland that I have read. I can't think of anything off the top of my head of the other two either, but I'm positive I probably have read something. It's just not sticking out of my mind. And it also, none of my TBR books are ones that came, said where they were setting. Now, there's a lot of books that you don't know where they're actually set until you get into the story and find out. So it's very possible I have books set there and not even realize it. But I would love it if you would leave in the comments below kind of, where is your dream destination? Where is somewhere that you would like to go? And, or if you have a recommendation for one of those three places, I would also love your help. And I will try to find something for those two states in the Canadian province. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. And I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And have a great day. Thank you. Bye.